So there's a couple of realities, and one is 95% of the world's consumers live somewhere other than the United States now. And so whether it's Africa, India, China, Brazil, Asia, as more and more of the world begins to embrace democracy, freedom, open markets, however you define it, as a way to attack poverty, build a more diverse income, the world's going to be developing more and more consumers who ultimately look like the American public. And one way we can keep our lifestyle going is we got everywhere to sell our stuff. So one, the imperative for us to be in trade is absolutely there as a matter of economic survival. What I appreciate about working for this president is that he, more than any others, also recognized just going to the American public and saying trade is good doesn't get you there. Matter of fact, not only does it not get you there, if you walk in a room and say trade is good, most people immediately just shut you down and walk up to them and say you don't get it. But if we can help the American public understand that you really can have fair trade, if we can have trade that opens markets the way we've opened ours, and you can have trade policy that speaks to our core values, that we really will engage our trade partners on how we think you ought to treat labor. And that if all we're going to do is create an incentive for people to move production to a place that hires a bunch of kids or abuses women and pays them nothing, maybe that's not what we want to do. And when it comes to the environment, we don't want to put in place policies that while we adhere to certain environmental constructs, you just move production to somewhere else where people don't respect that. So that's kind of what we do at USTR. One reason in particular I wanted to come here and see this is in a lot of fora that we're involved in, we meet with groups as diverse as all 150 members of the WTO. We meet in small groups where we're just doing a bilateral trade agreement. We just completed agreements with Korea, Colombia, and Panama. Or we have trilateral configurations like NAFTA. But where we can get like-minded partners, we think it's in our advantage to try to play to our strengths. And one of President Obama's broad challenges is that he wants the United States to be a leader in the green technology job creating revolution. Everybody around the world is dealing with a couple of realities, whether the world's population grows by 10% or 20%, you know, U.S. population is going to be relatively flat. But if India, China, Brazil, Latin America add all these billions of new people, one thing we know, the planet isn't getting any bigger. And we're going to be resource constrained as it is. So whether it's using smart technology in how we produce food, protect the land, do so that it's disease resistant, uses less water, or whether it's how we use and consume energy. If the United States is a leader in sharing that technology with the world, that's a great way for us to help the world, save the planet, create jobs here. So that's one reason I want to come see this, even though you're students here. And I've got a daughter who's graduating next month from Columbia and one who's a freshman at NYU. I would imagine they could tell you nothing about the energy consumption and use and application at Columbia or NYU. But a cool thing, because of Chris's leadership, you know, AU has a goal that you're going to be a carbon neutral campus by 2020. So that means everything you do, from powering these lights to running the gym to making coffee, you want to do to where you have a flat footprint. That's not only a cool story for AU, but if we can take this technology and you do it here, and because of the partnership with these guys, we come up with a workable economic model. That might be something we can say, can we share this with the world? So what part of our work at USTR is learning what people and businesses and campuses like yours are doing. And interestingly enough, this fellow here is a USTR alum. And so we try to apply that in what we're doing. I'll give you one example. A month from now, I'm going to host 20 of my colleagues who are all members of something called APEC. It's the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperative. And I guess since y'all all do international studies, do y'all all know this stuff? Am I being too you know, so anyway, we're going to host them. Within APEC, a big thing we're looking at is what can we do to facilitate direct trade in goods and environmental services. So even without waiting on the rest of the world, the idea is for countries that believe in it, can we go ahead and do something that says, If we know solar panels are good, if we know wind power is good, amongst ourselves, why don't we agree we'll reduce tariffs, barriers, do what we can to facilitate trade among us. That's one good thing the United States is leading on, particularly among the 21 members of APEC. And there is a smaller group of us within the WTO that's trying to come up with a coalition on that. We started out, it's typically the US, Canada, Australia, the European Union, Japan, and others. But we have deliberately gone slower because we don't want to make it look like it's the developed world versus the non-developed world, and a way for us to go in and grab more capacity before they can. So we've deliberately gone slow to see if we can get other economies interested and see if they will join with us. Let me do one practical thing. Our website's ustr.gov. Y'all may know that. There's much more information on all of these available. I hope if I say something that doesn't sound too boring, you might think about spending time